You're listening to the fifth episode of the Game of Growth series. Welcome, everyone. I'm Tina from Truepush, and today our guest is Ramesh Ravishankar, Senior Director Marketing at Freshworks. How are you, Ramesh?
Hello, Tina. I'm nice being with you this afternoon, Friday afternoon. I'm doing very well and looking forward to this lovely podcast.
Oh, that's great, Ramesh. We'll start quick. How did you start your professional journey, and why did you choose digital marketing as a career?
uh, I wish I could, you just caught me off guard. I wish I could have a nice answer to that. To be very honest, digital marketing it just ended up becoming my line of work, and I quite enjoy it. But that's not what I started 16 years back. I was a MBA graduate from Loyola College then, and my first job was selling bicycles. I sold bicycles for about 2.5, 3 years, uh, which was fun. And there was absolutely no, I didn't even have a laptop then. So from there, transitioning into selling payphones. I don't know if you were even, a lot of people, the crowd who are listening to this would have even been born then. So I used to sell payphones where you drop in a rupee and you could speak for a minute, right? And those yellow boxes are nowhere in sight right now. Um, and then later I realized the internet is catching a lot of steam and maybe I should do something there. So I joined a company called Readip.com, and I mean, which once upon a time was doing extremely well and heading their business for the South called Pay for Clicks. So essentially, you would just canvas to all the SMEs, to the shops, and say, "I would, we'll create a website for you, uh, and you can advertise, and I will have traffic come to your website." And that was the only USP then of that, right? From there, I moved on to Google, and that's been a very enriching experience for me, where I learned the fundamentals of digital marketing and saw the universe as big. Uh, the latest in digital marketing was what I learned from Google. Spent about close to 6 years there, and obviously, I had no intentions of moving out of Google because everything was going perfectly fine with me. And something better that happened was on a vacation that I was here at in India. I was in Malaysia then. I met Girish, and that's where everything transpired. And when you're talking to a CEO who's absolutely so passionate about what he's doing, you see the vision right out of his eyes when he's talking to you. And then he says, "Hey, why don't you join the team and help us grow this?" It's a very difficult flight to take back to Malaysia then. But I said, okay, I went to my boss then in Kuala Lumpur, and I told him, "Hey, here's an opportunity. What do you think I should do?" So the country director, then told me, "You know what, Ramesh, I think you should go. The opportunity seems really good. If it doesn't work out, you can always apply at Google and probably come back, and I'll have a good recommendation to you." But thank God, till so far, I've never had to tap in that, and I don't think I will do that in future. So that's how I am here at Freshworks for the last 5 years, trying to be a part of this rocket ship and growing the business here.
That's great, Ramesh. This is quite a journey from selling payphones to started working in Google and then to coming to Freshworks. So also, in fact, you just remind me of the phones that in that time where we used to just throw 1 rupee coin, and within 1 minute we used to think, okay, we have to complete everything within just 1 minute. So that time was
Correct.
completely different.
Yeah,
Um,
and then cell phones took over, which you didn't need any more pay phones. You
yeah.
could get incoming calls for free forever.
So I want to tell to the audience, of course, most of you must be familiar with Freshworks, but those who don't, Freshworks it provides a SaaS customer engagement solutions. The company rebranded itself from Freshdesk to Freshworks in recent year and built itself from a single product to multiple products. I think 12 products, if I'm not wrong. So, how is the journey so far with Freshworks, Ramesh?
Uh, it's been a very enriching experience, Tina. The last 5 years, I have been at the cusp of the growth at Freshworks. Uh, when I came in, I didn't even know that there was a customer support help desk that was generally there. You just took it for granted that if you call someone, there is someone is taking down your complaint and then it gets resolved. But what goes into that whole machinery is just phenomenal, and to be driving it through technology is just awesome. So way back in 2015, um, it was Fresh Desk then, and the name of the product and the company was the same, and we were providing the customer support software solutions. And Girish was also toying with the idea of being a multi-product company then, and we also had Fresh Service, which is an ITSM uh, service ticketing company, uh, ticketing software that came across. So I told Girish, and I was hired only for Fresh Desk then, right? And I went back to him telling him, saying, hey, what's the point of having two different marketing teams for lead gen when the tactic is going to be the same? Uh, and he was more than happy to say, hey, yeah, if you can take up both of these, then it just makes it easier. So I'd spoken to the BU head then and said, hey, I'll take care of Fresh Service, providing leads for Fresh Service as well. Um, and it was just taken for granted that this digital marketing team that is there is now going to be a centralized function across any of the new products that the company thinks of getting up there. So 2015, fast forward 2017 is when we rebranded ourselves from Fresh Desk to Freshworks, because by then we had our CRM software beginning to mushroom beautifully. And there's been absolutely nothing, going back. We are into customer engagement as a solution. We have Fresh Chat, we have Fresh Caller, uh, Fresh Marketer now. So all of this has been, you've literally seen the growth germinating. Like it's so beautiful to see a seed germinating into a sprout and then going blossoming into a nice little plant, and then you see this entire forest. And that by the way, is also name of our plans, of pricing plans that we have.
Oh,
And I've literally seen it across, and it's just a very very humbling experience of what we've been doing at Freshworks.
that's great, Ramesh. So, what's the importance of customer engagement? How Freshworks and other similar platforms are playing a very crucial role to bind companies with their customers or to provide very cohesive customer service?
Great question, Tina. There was a time when when the sales team, when a company was probably concentrating purely on sales, right, and generating top line revenue for them. So it was all about selling, selling, selling,
Right.
right? And somewhere in between, what changed or what elongated the entire funnel was, how do you take care of customers? Right now, they're coming into your ecosystem. It's upon you to nurture them. It's upon you to grow their customers. How do you do that? Right. So it was not just selling anymore. It was taking care of them, nurturing them, um, um, and that involved a lot of engagement with the customer. And it was just not point in time sale. Look at it on whatever we do, whatever we go and buy on a daily basis, right? It could be, you could go and buy yourself a pair of jeans, and it's all about customer engagement right from the time you enter the shop, right from the time you have someone in the name of customer engagement, sometimes overly being to the extent that they follow you right behind every selection. Uh, I mean, thank God they're not allowed into the trial rooms, but going on, they come back and they want to ask you if they want to sell more of it. How was the fit? You build the product, and that's not it. They give you a coupon to say, hey, the next time you come, you are in for a better discount, right? And then follow any chance and there's an SMS coming up to your on your WhatsApp or on even on your phone on what's the latest. So I think the whole engagement model has become critical because one, the choices being available for customers is plenty, and in order to even acquire a customer, right, the cost is probably so high that only if there is a lifetime value threshold that they can go out of is when you also start becoming a profitable company. There's just no point spending dollars on acquiring a customer. It's about how you nourish them, how you nurture them, how do you give them an experience unparalleled to anyone, how do you solve their problems, and therefore customer engagement is at its cusp right now, right? uh, the power is also with the purchaser, right? You have a bad customer experience, that's it, you're battered on Twitter. As a company, you wouldn't have done anything wrong, you would have just probably laid back. A great example is, if you have not if you have visited Chennai, is the Satyam cinemas, right? And amazing customer engagement, and they're just not about selling movie tickets. They go right from the area of when you're parking into their systems, when you're parking into their parking area, they know how to treat you, they know which, they will tell you exactly where the vacant parking spot is, right? If you don't have the money to pay it right now or in a rush, you can always come back later and pay it. You get into it. If they see a child struggling to fit the seat, they come and give you a cushion for you to go and sit. If you want a mobile charger, that you just have to ask, they get it, not at any cost, because that's the experience that is unparalleled, right? Uh,
Right.
and that makes you stick to a brand. And I think that's how customer engagement is. And for Freshworks, it's not very different. For Freshworks customers, it's not very different. For Freshworks customers, they just want to have a single view of all their customers. And so we've created this whole product of saying master customer record. So for Freshworks' customer, they can see right from the entry point of how are we acquiring customers, what's happening to them, how do we take them to the next level, and the entire journey is mapped out. And that's the experience we kind of also give our customers.
Amazing, amazing, Ramesh. In fact, when Truepush started back in 2019, which is very recent, and
Yep.
from gaining zero to more than 15,000 customers within a very short span, one thing which we realized was the customer experience. Each and every customer who is coming to your platform must feel that yes, they are being taken care of, they are being nurtured, and every little queries, they're not being ignored but resolved, that too quickly. So that's also one of the main reason that even if there might be certain issues in the product, but the customer would want to stay because they know that that their queries would be definitely resolved, and the product is quite transparent with them. So
Yep.
customer service and engaging them rightly, taking care of them at different aspect, I think it definitely helps a product to grow further. So, moving forward, what are your targeted mediums to generate more leads? How do you plan out the strategies? Do you focus more on targeting SMBs or the larger brands?
Uh, okay, let me answer this in two parts. You know,
Yeah.
when you start off, what we started off when the company was way back in formed in 2010 is a very simple ticketing system. And we say, hey, you have a problem, use our software, and we'll ticket that complaint for you, solve it, and get back to the customer. It was very SMB, right? And when you're SMB, it's you've got to do it at scale. So when we started off then, and thanks to Freshworks and Girish, there was enough funding available. And being Girish being the man himself, he said, "Okay, let me try and spending some money online because everyone is searching. So let me go ahead and spend some money and see how the leads are coming." He did it. He did it all by himself, and then he saw success. And not that all the metrics were really good. He probably had his customers at a very, very high cost, but he knew that people were searching for it. And there's a category that is actively looking for a customer support software. In our business model that talks about SMB, we are very clear on our product strategy and our acquisition strategy. And what that means is we will make products which are existing in the category, which means we are not going to be creating a new category at all. And once you have an established category, users know the category, which means you don't have to generate a big awareness program out of it, because generally people know what a customer support software is, right? Those who are looking to buy, and even upper funnel. If you have a business, you have customers. If you have customers, you have to serve them. It's as simple as that. And
Right.
so acquisition, and if you're tapping on the right intent, which is Google, people come and ask for customer support software, right? Free customer support software, and so on and so forth. Your acquisition becomes easy. Now, that is pretty much our SMB business model even till today. We take, for all our products, we are not a category creator. We just take part in the category. It's just that we give the users a better experience of the product in terms of UI and decision making and ability to set up the whole product. And we market it through search because the intent is already there. We just do a great job of capturing the intent and giving them an experience. When I say giving them an experience, you come through search, you search for a customer support software. We take you right into the product for free. You don't have to pay, even put in your credit card details, and boom, you have the product right in front of you without having to pay any money. Setting it up is as simple as well. And that's what SMB want. SMB want the time to value. So they want to pay for a product now, and and they want to see its value ASAP, right? And so, there is no big configuration happening there. You don't need an army of consultants coming to your office and helping it set for you. The decision is made by the products are actually built for the user, for the customer support agent, and not built for the uh, for the CIOs. And so that makes it easier to start handling the customers at scale. When you're already doing that at a great scale, you automatically get traction. So you've really mastered your art of acquisition. You've mastered the art of providing your customers a superior experience through the product UI, its ability to usage, and so on. When you have both of this really mastered, there is pent up demand for it. You go a little upscale. When I say upscale, you probably start building features that complex organizations have. When I say complex organizations, I mean the problems which are complex in organizations. It could be multi-office, it could be multi-channel, right? And so you start solving for them. That is not something that SMBs may need at that point in time. So then you have a new segment when you go up market in terms of mid-market and enterprise. So you start building up products for them, and that's when you are probably established as a well-known brand. And so the lead gen tactics kind of change. When you're SMB, you're more search driven. When you're more mid-market, you cater into the personas of decision makers. How do you cater to influencers? And a lot of those come into play. To answer your question, Tina, what are the predominantly the channels? Was that a question?
Yeah, what are the targeted mediums to generate more
Yeah.
leads?
So for SMB, it is search. It is also a lot of ratings and reviews websites. It's more like a marketplace where they are probably researching. So if I have to just put it this way, in a typical marketing funnel, right at the top of the funnel, it's about just leaving your footprints across multiple scalable areas like Facebook, where there are users already there, but who have absolutely no intention of buying the support software or the product right now.
I can't hear you, Ramesh. Is that only me, Ravi?
I can't hear either. Ramesh, are you there?
Okay. Yeah, I am there. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Um,
I'm afraid that we'll have to do this again. Probably this answer, which Tina, can you repeat the question so that
Yeah, uh, I
let's just
think,
reconfirm again?
yeah, mediums to generate more leads.
Right. So
Well, repeat the
when
question again, probably.
I think there is some voice issue from his end.
no, I can hear you, Tina.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Ramesh, please continue. So we'll crop out the in the middle. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. So for a very intent driven, right at the bottom of the funnel, you know how to capture the intent. So search plays a major role. And when I say search, I advise all the companies, startups looking at it to start from an SEO model where non-paid plays a major role, and then you move to paid when you have once you have an established category. Just about the bottom of the funnel is, when people are looking to buy a software but perhaps not now. You have to be present on listicles, you have to be present on multiple marketplaces like Captera, G2 Crowds of the world. You want customers to start rating you so that you go higher up the grid. Credibility plays a major role there. And you know you have to have more pages in your website, or you publish more content outside. Blog is a great way of acquiring customers, at least to tell the top of the funnel that if you have a problem with related customer support, you should consider a software. Now, you don't have to say that you have to consider your software, but at least make them know that there is software available that can solve a lot of your problems, right? And therefore blogs become a very crucial role, followed by pages on your website. There are a lot of white papers, so you have to invest in a lot of content as well, just beyond media. And the moment you also scale towards mid market, you're now looking to reach out to the personas. So definitely they're all there on LinkedIn. You have to be on podcasts uh, of greater reach. So you have to probably have events being done. So that's a completely different ball game. There are field marketing events, networking events. So you've got to be taking part in all that. But SMB is all about scale, right? And scale is where there are a lot of users thronging over multiple websites predominantly, if you want to go digitally.
Right. So, Ramesh, what growth KPIs as a customer engagement service should focus on primarily?
Tina, I'm guessing when you say uh, growth KPIs for a customer support service, are you talking about a company's growth KPIs, or you're talking about the customer's KPIs by itself?
No, I'm talking about companies' KPIs.
All right. So if you growth KPIs, everyone looks at MRR, the monthly recurring revenue, and that's, I think, on a, that is your cash flow that you have to kind of definitely look at. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at, there are multiple metrics, and you have to look at it in relationship to the other. You can't just look at MRR and not look at what's happening on the churn, right? You can look at MRR and and you think that your top line is growing, but at what cost? So it's the sales and marketing expenditure. What's happening to R&D, and there's a lot of it. So you have to look at each of these metrics in relationship with one another. I think the core growth KPIs are definitely net retention rate, which means given a period of time, how many customers do we have, and how is their revenue expanding within the ecosystem? Right? Are we expanding? That means, if it is generally land and expand strategy, does mean are people buying? If it's subscription driven, are people buying more? Are subscribing more to your products? So that's net expansion rate, net retention rate. That is very core to every business. Uh, the second is, of course, basic customer LTV to CAC ratio. So what's the lifetime of the customer that we have? Um, based on and in relationship to the what is the cost acquired. So the payback, how soon are we able to get the money back of after investing in acquiring them, after which you start becoming profitable with the customer. These extremely crucial, right? For a marketing department, it is payback, right? What is a net payback? There's a gross payback and the net payback. A gross payback is purely the return on ad spend. To say, hey, if I am generating, if I am spending $1, am I getting at least $1 back? That could be just the return on ad spend. But
Right.
when you say net, after a quarter, is that $1 still becoming one? Is it remaining at $1? Is it moving to $1.1, or is it actually going down at all? So, which means the person would have completely churned out of the system, or they would have downgraded, and that's important to see because that plays into your investment strategy. Apart from that, you can build, you can try and get at growth efficiency index of looking at purely doing a cohort analysis in when it comes to sales to say, hey, that depends on the conversion uh, window. So let's assume for a minute that every time I generate a lead, on an average, it takes about 30 days to close a deal. Now, I could be generating leads for the month of May. I cannot corroborate that to the revenue that came in May. Right? You have to probably go back and look into see the revenue that came in May. If you can track it back and see, is it coming from the revenue that is it coming from the leads that happened in April or March? Right? That would talk also about your advertising effectiveness and your sales efficiency to say what is the conversion rate and so on. So there are various in every department there are key metrics that we have to kind of take care of, and that's why there is no one north star metric that people should start looking. And this is my advice again, right? Usually we just start looking at the north star metric and MRR and ARR growth. And while that happens, you also have to see how much of that is the net growth and just not top line revenue.
Right. So moving forward, what are the various marketing strategies do you follow, particularly to retain your customers?
That's a good one. When you're typically getting a lot of customers, retaining them is as important as even acquiring the next customer. Let me break this down by again department for you, Tina. Typically, it's important for us to understand what percentage of customers give us what kind of revenue, right? And it will be a pyramid shape any day, which means that the top 10 or 15% of customers would generally end up giving you 60 to 60% of your revenue. And then the next part of the pyramid or the triangle would be the next 20% of your customers giving you the next 15%. So typically you are covered. 30% of your customers will be giving you about 60 to 65% of revenue, and you're covered there. And if you're able to do a good job of retaining them, the majority of revenue is still in the system. But that's important only for a CEO's eye, right? Or whoever is your chief customer officer, or it's important for the salespeople to understand if you're able to contain the top 65% of the revenue, you're doing a good job. But that doesn't stop you to retain customers who come below that. Now, the problem is if you're an SMB kind of a business, you keep churning out revenue fast as well. So I think one key area is coverage. How many customers are we able to cover or touch on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, whatever that actually works for you? And coverage should be done programmatically. For these 65% of the revenue that I said, the top two tier, you generally should have a one-on-one touch, right? You have QBRs that work with them. So you typically kind of tell them what their usage of the product has been, and that's a different phase altogether. and then you take part, you bring them as part of your events and showcase them, because that way obviously they also get exposure into what products are. So you do all of the top of the the engagement with them is very different from the engagement at the bottom of the pyramid, which is all about scaling. Now you cannot have an infrastructure for people calling them this bottom of the pyramid, because they're just customers coming in and churning out, right? So for these, you need to be extremely programmatic in nature, right? About sending them emails. You need to be telling them, right? Onboarding is extremely important. So you have to have various checks. So when a person comes in, what is the onboarding experience that we are giving him? Because I don't know if you've seen, if I were Google and this is the first time I'm logging into AdWords, it's supremely confusing. I would just get out and say, boss, this is too complicated for me,
Agree.
right? And that can happen to any product. You get inside a product, and if it just seems too complicated, you're just out of it. Like take Salesforce. The moment a Salesforce logs in his email ID and gets in, it's way too confusing. How do you onboard that user? And typically in an SMB, that onboarding is extremely important. At the next level is usage. So you track them on saying, if you're a CRM, hey, how many it all starts from how many contacts have you imported to the system and so on. And then, you use techniques, and there's a lot of software nowadays available to keep a track of that product usage and then keep sending emails to them. It is all about doing it programmatically. You don't have the bandwidth or the money to kind of have a one-on-one experience, and it's not needed. So marketing techniques are predominantly showcasing them, telling them what other customers are doing. Testimonials help a lot, because people want to generally feel that, hey, if someone else from my industry is doing it, then it's probably more useful. Email marketing works the best here.
Right. That's such a simple yet informational message to the audience as well. Moving ahead, what suggestions do you have for budding SaaS products? To focus on generating more leads.
Okay, Freshworks got a little lucky. Now, to be very honest, there was funding available, and right from day one, we could do paid marketing, and the whole thing worked. Let me also give you something and tell audience out here to say what didn't work. We did the same paid first approach for one of our products, and boom, we just burnt money, right? We were leaking at a faster rate than we were even acquiring. That's when we had to pause our marketing and then go back to the drawing board and see how can we attract more customers and make them use the product without spending money. So point number one is, even if you have the money, try and lay the emphasis on acquisition through a non-paid marketing techniques. How do you do this? And that's all about, you start with, if it's a product that you're already a part of in the category, SEO is your best bet. You don't have to replace the top player out there in terms of search ranking, but do we have enough pages that talks about, see, you should also think of it that when a customer is coming to your website, are they clearly aware of what this product is all about? Are we talking about saying, okay, how trusted is the brand? Now, how trusted is a brand is an easy answer when you have some of your existing customers speak about you. Second is there helpful content for me to understand that my time to value is the shortest? You don't necessarily need to talk about a cost or say, hey, there's an offer running and you can get 50% discount on the price. That's not what they're coming in for. They're coming in for to understand, is the product useful to me? And if I buy it, how soon can I start reaping the benefits? Freemium is a great way. So if your strategy itself is freemium, you can say, hey, just give out your email address and get into the product and try it for yourself. So when you have built in such techniques, paid will only make it work when non-paid makes it work. When I mean that, if you have enough evidence that yeah, my current way of non-paid and SEO way of acquiring customers, it could be really slow. But the moment you have a product market fit established, you want to accelerate on your existing motion, and that's when you go ahead for Google search. That's when you go ahead and say, go get listed in G2 Crowd and the Kpis of the world for free, right? That's available. But you want to supercharge that, you go in for a paid model. That would be my biggest advice. Not to think of a paid first approach. Think of whatever that can be done from a non-paid first. Fix the product marketing fit first. Know that you're not leaking as much money. Then start pushing the pedal, accelerating it through paid.
Right. Right. So, any budget-friendly tools that you would suggest regarding engagement and retention? I can't hear you, Ramesh.
Yeah, me either. I think he's on. Okay.
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
better?
yeah. You can. Shall I repeat the question?
Okay. Sorry. No, I'm
Okay,
fine. I'll
sure.
take it on. Yeah. In terms of retention and customer engagement of what you're saying, I probably am not the right person because I take care of mostly acquisitions. Um, but email marketing really helps, is from what I know. If you're looking at retaining strategy per se.
And any tools for acquiring new customers? Any from your perspective, I would ask.
So, I think the core is everyone is already thinking about the questions that we get most often that I get is what is what's the marketing stack that we generally have, right? And the moment there's no end to being putting up the perfect marketing stack. It comes at a cost, right? But for starters, uh, if from a digital marketing perspective, Google Analytics is your go-to because you can configure it and it's free up to more than I think it's up to 10 million visitors a month or 5 million. I'm not sure. So that's a free product. Think about any email marketing tool. Uh, Shameless plug here is the Freshworks suite already. You already have Fresh Marketer for email marketing. You have the CRM, uh, which gives you a complete picture of all your contacts, and then looking at pipeline, and then you have customer support. You have Fresh Desk. Freshworks definitely has it covered for you. uh, Apart from that, there's obviously you have as you grow in stature, as you grow in the more number of customers, you need more sophisticated tools in tracking the cookies. Then when you're looking for acquisition, of mid-market customers, then you have to have an ABM strategy. You have to invest in databases, and that becomes a much different play. Obviously, it's not affordable for a beginning SaaS company. It's not recommended uh, more than affordable.
Right. So, in the end, any advice you would like to give to the people who are in the baby steps of building a startup that would focus on customer engagement?
Yeah, I think my biggest advice is when you are looking to build a product, right? Everyone out there is trying to look at a product, right? Do not position it as a feature, right? And why I say that is, do not think that okay, I've built. You don't want people to look at it as, hey, here's a feature, and someone is calling it a product, right? And it's very mistake. You may not know it, but the moment you put it on a website, uh, I recently saw a website which said, hey, cut your onboarding cost by 50%. Right? What does it even talk about? Are you talking about saying that you are probably a cheaper, affordable software? Are you talking of what's your USP? What is the problem that you're solving? Right? From a web perspective, make it very clear who's your audience that you're going to cater to. Uh, right? Think of the biggest scenario, right? And it will give you. Do not limit yourself. You may have a very small feature, absolutely right, but who is your audience? You may be solving a larger problem, but don't put the feature as your product out there. Be very clear in the market that you're approaching, and how do you message that in a sense of what problem does it solve. That's my biggest learning in marketing, as I've seen many SaaS or many startups do. Right. Um, Again, one thing that Freshworks has taught me is if you're in the category, it makes it easier. Do not think of building the brand right from day one. That's not going to happen. Brand is a journey. It will eventually happen based on how credible you are, how trustworthy you are, how customer friendly you are, and so on. So do not waste dollars on branding. Um, you know these are big lessons, right? And think about the market, right? You may be extremely passionate about building a product, a feature, but does it have market? Because market will kind of answer you, is your right go-to person. At the end of the day, you're going to serve a market, right? Is there enough opportunity out there? And you could be just building a feature because you're passionate about it, but uh, how will the market respond to that? I think that's very important. Assess the market before building a feature, or at least positioning the product.
Amazing, Ramesh. Sorry. So thank you so much for this great discussion with us, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ramesh Ravishankar, Senior Marketing Director at Freshworks. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tina. It's been a great Friday afternoon for me, trying to share whatever I've learned at Freshworks. So, thank you and have a great evening.
Same here, Ramesh. Stay safe.